dive into the show because we got a lot to talk to and a lot to talk about today, guys. It's brought to us by FanDuel. The NFL championship round games are here this weekend, and that's another opportunity for you to win some extra money on FanDuel thanks to a profit boost pack that's waiting for you inside the app. Just like every other day, you make your picks, but on NFL playoff game days, you can apply a profit boost for even bigger payouts. While the playoffs get rolling, just visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost packs every single NFL playoff game day. All right, guys, we got a couple of updates in the search for the Browns' new head coach. We learned yesterday Jesse Minter said thanks but no thanks to the Browns as he was scheduled to interview for the second time with the team on Thursday. He was ended up being hired.
Jason's cracking up over here.
I can't share.
Oh, God.
It's kind of hilarious.
You can't share.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was trying to keep it together. I'm sorry.
Hey,
it has nothing to do with the show.
Okay.
If Jason is laughing, that means Jason is in a good mood today. We're ready to go.
So Jesse Minter said
Jesse Minter
ended
signed
up getting hired by the Ravens. He's
Yes.
the new Ravens head coach. Grant Udinski is in Cleveland today interviewing with the team. Nate Scheelhaus is now scheduled to interview with the Browns on Monday, according to Mary Kay.
Okay.
Something else from Mary Kay, she said that one of the main reasons that head coach candidates have been a little hesitant to accept the Cleveland Browns job is the current situation of the quarterback room.
Yeah, no offense to Mary Kay, but, I mean,
Let's start
wasn't
with that.
that obvious?
We'll start with that and we'll dive into the rest. But I know Mary Kay reported it, and you say it's an obvious report, but
Yeah.
kind of no duh, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
but
Go
is
ahead.
it? But is it?
What do you mean?
I said for weeks that the quarterback room is going to be a deterrent to this job, and everybody got mad.
Well, I didn't get mad. Some people, listen, I think, well, let's ask Bush because he's the biggest Shador supporter.
It's not just Shador. Shador's a part of it. It's
Right.
not just. This is the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Period.
So
there's none worse.
If you look at it,
Yeah.
I think you couple that with the context around what other jobs are available. So in the beginning, we started with, hey, maybe we could joust with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Then you say, oh, look, we maybe. Hey, listen, I mean, I could squint hard and look at the Cardinals a little bit. Okay, that ain't too far off.
Yeah.
But then when you look at Miami comes open a little bit later than we thought it was going to be. And then what really hit you in the face was the fact that Pittsburgh comes open, you didn't expect it. Buffalo comes open, they got Josh Allen. The Baltimore Ravens have Lamar Jackson. So if you're going to compare our rooms to their rooms, those rooms are better. It's just unequivocally true. Like, it's not. I mean, there's a part of it that goes into it, the quarterback room, but this is not rocket science. If you want, even if you're the most high, you might be a CU auntie, right? But if you're looking at Lamar Jackson compared to what we got, that's a no-brainer. Of course, people will take the Baltimore Ravens.
The problem for the Browns is, even when there were 6 teams without a coach, the Browns were either the worst or right there for the worst job. Now there's 10, or there were total, and they haven't moved up. Like, the Browns in Arizona are the 2 worst jobs. They were the 2 worst jobs, in my opinion, in the beginning.
Yeah.
They're still the 2 worst jobs.
Yeah.
And that's now Vegas would have been just as bad, but they got the first pick.
Correct.
So it depends what you think of Mendoza. If you like if you're a coach who likes Mendoza a lot, then the Raiders are above the Browns and Arizona. If you don't really like Mendoza, then the Raiders might be in the same spot as the Browns. The thing is, though, the Browns, whether it's the quarterback room, which obviously, yes, it is, if not the worst in the league in the conversation, it's just the reality is that right now, and for a number of years, it's been the worst job. Now, does it have to stay that way forever? No.
It seems to.
It seems to, but it doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to.
Listen, if the Bengals job for many years was one of the worst jobs ever.
Yep.
It's still not as good as it should be because of ownership. But right now, if you're fair about it, you wouldn't call it. If the Bengals job came open, yeah, you'd rather have Buffalo or Baltimore because they're better organizations with top quarterbacks.
There aren't many jobs better than Cincinnati only because of Burrow.
Because of Burrow.
Yep.
So ultimately, the same thing could happen with the Browns.
Yep.
It's just not the case right now.
You know, it's where you are in the state of your organization. You know, to me, I look at some of the names, and like there's a lot that goes into it. You look at Mike McDaniel and some of these other guys. You know, those dudes are going to do what's best for them. Like, that's how interviews work. Like, people, you know, if I'm looking around and I'm saying, okay, well, I got an opportunity that I could go other places that fit my situation way better than what Cleveland is. No hard feelings, Cleveland, but it's just not a good fit for me at this moment. And if you look at it for the Browns, it's not necessarily a thing where you're like, oh my gosh, this sucks for us. No, you just keep going, because at the end of the day, we talk about it all the time. You want the right fit. You not only want the right person that believes that they can come in here and change things around, because that's what you want. If you want to start changing your culture, you want somebody to start with that says, I believe I'm special. I believe that I'm the guy for the job. And whether or not these guys have credentials or whether they have a track record, we're all forecasting and trying to predict what they'll do. We don't know what they'll do. Who knows? We got to wait and see, and time will tell. But the thing that the Browns need to do is, hey, you got to get the guy that wants to be here. That's the thing I want. I want a guy that says, look, I feel like I could be special. I feel like I could see something in this roster, and I feel like I'm the piece that could get this thing turned around. It's yet to be seen who that is, but that's the energy that I'm looking for the head coach and what the Browns should pick.
I think there's a percentage of people in the fan base and even in the media here that are surprised at how low the Browns' job is thought of right now, which is stunning to me.
I totally agree.
Which is stunning.
I totally agree. Like, what did you think? Do you think people are going to be lying? And I don't want, and actually, like, I'm going to defend the Browns here in a minute, but I don't want to just crap on the Browns. But why would you be surprised that people aren't lying? Like, right. I tried, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. I'm like, you really think John Harbaugh was coming? John Harbaugh was never touching this job.
No, of course.
And
no veteran with an option. Like
the Mike McDaniel thing that G mentioned, he's got one job left. That's it. He's got one more shot 100%. To be a head coach. Why would you spend it here?
Right.
If you've got like, it looked like he was going to sit out and be an OC and wait for a better job to open, and then Buffalo certainly counts as that.
Right.
So he'll interview for Buffalo. I'd be surprised if he got that one. I think I'd be surprised.
But the truth is, like, Mike McDaniel didn't. Ultimately he's going to take a job interview with Buffalo because that's a great job. And to be surprised, like. I mentioned my old friend Joe Lull a while ago, who used to be on the Fan, and he put out this whole spreadsheet. He created this whole
I didn't see
thing.
it, but you were telling me about that.
Joe put this whole thing of why the Browns' job is a good job. And some of the things there are so ludicrous. And I love Joe, and I love that he does this work, and it's cool. But, like, the Browns having a good defense, which they do, or having a easy schedule on paper, like, or he was trying to argue the Browns have had stability, there's stability in the organization because they didn't fire Stefanski for a while or Barry. None of these things are things that are appealing to coaches. I mean, or are gonna put a coach, have the coach pick the Browns. So right now, to me, the Browns have to get lucky. They have to get lucky that they find a coach that another team doesn't want, who happens to be a good coach, and he can help turn the ship around.
I think they just have to, first of all, foremost, is identifying the right individual. Now, to get the right individual, it takes a lot of different things. But I always compare it. I'm not surprised that, these other guys, that's why I don't be jumping up and down when guys is turning us down. It's like, think about it, where you are in your regular career. Like, Jason is not going to go back to writing for, like, a regular paper. Like, Bull is not going to start doing weekends on a radio show somewhere. I don't care what kind of company it is, right? Like, it's no knock to the company or wherever it's at. It's just I'm at a point in my career where that's not what I'm doing. It's not. It doesn't work for both sides.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for Harbaugh to take this job. It doesn't make sense for some of these guys because think about it. They're at a point where, hey, listen, my heavy lifting is done. It's like, it's one of those things where you come home and you're about to push 50 and your wife says, I want another baby. You start looking around like, what? That's a whole conversation. Diapers, school, I got to teach them how to read and write all over again. I just got these other ones about the house and I got to know. So for them, it makes absolutely no sense for Tomlin or somebody to come in and have to do the heavy lifting when they're used to doing, hey, I just came with an MVP quarter. I had an MVP. Right. We was expected to win. Right. So for the Browns, they got to find somebody that they need to start on and try to find their own Harbaugh or Tomlin or
let me ask you guys this. And Jason, I know you and I talked about this last night, but Grant Udinsky is in Berea today interviewing for the job with the Cleveland Browns. He's going to Buffalo on Sunday to interview with the Bills for their head coach opening. The Browns are not currently Rooney Rule compliant, which means even if they fell in love with Udinski and thought he was guaranteed to be their guy, they could not hire him on the spot. And Jason, that's kind of been a divisive point online of late in terms of the Browns for not being Rooney Rule compliant, and you're not kind of buying the fact that it's a mistake that they haven't forced any intervention.
Yeah, I don't like. I told I've been on social media more the last couple weeks because I put Twitter back on my phone for the coaching search item.
Yeah,
and I was on yesterday, and I'm like, fans are losing their minds. Like, how first of all, I don't think that this coaching search is in shambles like so many other people seem to. I don't take it that way. I'm not taking it that way at all.
No.
And for people to say, like, I can't believe they're this far in and they're not even Rooney Rule compliant. Well, yeah, because they're trying not to make a mockery of it, guys.
Yeah, I respect that.
Like, it just bothers me. Like, people are looking at this like, well, just can we just bring a black guy from Walmart in off the street and talk to him so we get that out of the way?
Yeah.
It's incredibly insulting. And it's like, Andrew Berry's not going to bring somebody in on a sham interview just to check a box. And I told Mike, and actually, after I told you this, I did see this somewhere online. I told Mike, I'm like, pay the fine. If you hire Shieldhouse, like if that's your guy, and you don't bring a second candidate, just pay the fine. What is the NFL going to, like, are they really going to strip you of draft picks because you hired a minority, but you didn't interview a second? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But why would you do that? And I'm just going to put his name out, like Raheem Morris. Why would you do that to Raheem Morris?
Yeah, that's right.
To bring him in and humiliate him.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think the Rooney Rule is a good thing. I think it's a really good thing.
It's good intention.
But when we get into situations like this, it's like, why are you going to, and I'm really curious to hear what Garrett thinks on this, but like, I think I'm kind of proud of the way that the Browns have gone about this and the way that they've handled this. And yeah, McDaniel pulled out on them, and maybe they should have had another one in the chamber in terms of a diversity candidate lined up, because again, I don't think McDaniel was ever going to be interested in this job because he's only got one more bite at the apple, and you're not going to spend it on this. But I kind of like the way that they've sort of gone about this, because why would you embarrass a guy, or why would you bring a guy in if you're not, and listen, they've got their guys that they like, and they've got a list that they're going off. The Browns, more than any team, the Browns have actually been in the lead on a lot of the diversity hirings.
They true.
Like, if you, and trust me, I've ripped Jimmy up one side and down the other for plenty of things. The one thing I will give him credit for, Hugh Jackson's the head coach, but look at the leadership roles in Sashi Brown, Ray Farmer, Andrew Berry now. Like, they've been at the head of the pack on this. So now, if you're going to bash them now for not being Rooney compliant, I just think it's completely misguided.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think when you look at, that's one thing that you can't even, it's not even questionable. Like, first of all, there's two areas where I think you can't knock the Haslam's. The Haslam's give people second chances. If you look at the up and down the roster, from Josh Gordon to Deshaun Watson to Kareem Hunt to even Quinshon Judkins or Isaiah Bond, you look at the levels of the people, they've had issues, different things. They give people second chances. Another thing is their record on minority hires, not only in coaching positions but in the front office, is probably one of the best records in the league in terms of giving people opportunities, people of color and minorities, opportunity to be in positions of leadership. Now, that's not the end-all be-all, but I do think that the Rooney Rule is intentioned well, but the execution of it is not so great. Because for a while, we talk about is Raheem Moore. You don't want to make these dudes some sort of
Jim Caldwell.
The Jim Caldwell.
It was
like,
awful.
and Jim Caldwell was a good man, a solid individual. Listen, he was one of the best coaches in the league. But every time they wanted to check the box, it was bring Jim Caldwell in. Yeah. That's derogatory, man. I can't really get with that. I think they should do something a little better. Instead of being punitive, give an incentive. Hey, listen, if you're retaining certain people, if you do hire a minority candidate, I don't know if you can give them some draft capital or later on compensatory picks or something in terms of salary cap relief or whatever, but give an incentive, not something that's going to be competitively damaging just to hire a bunch of unqualified people.
Right.
But let's make it incentive worthy rather than punitive, and I think that will get people to think about it a little differently.
I do think if they hire Nate Shieldhouse, and they obviously wouldn't do it just for this reason.
Yeah, right.
But if they do, they shouldn't have to interview a second.
I
candidate.
believe they still have to.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I should have checked on that.
The rules say you still have to.
I know it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't
though.
make sense, but the rules
Yeah.
say.
And that's why I told Mike. We were on the phone last night, and I'm like, if they hire, and I do think they probably have somebody in mind already right now. I mean, obviously it's going to be Schwartz, Udinski, and Shieldhouse. Now, if it's Schwartz or Udinski, you can't really make this argument.
Right.
But if Nate's their guy, if they want to hire Shieldhouse, pay the fine. I'd rather pay the fine as Jimmy Haslam than go through some stupid faux mock interview just for the sake of checking a box.
And McDaniel, I've heard whispers of McDaniel thought he was not going to get the job. Like he felt like Shieldhouse and those other guys were higher on the list, and they really wanted them. Now, if they would have brought Mike McDaniel in for a second interview, that would have checked the box on the Rooney Rule, but he said no. They had a guy lined up. He said no. They have another guy. You just have to wait to get him in and try to hire him. So I don't know how that is not being compliant. If it falls through, it falls through. I don't want to be a guy to get brought in just because you just need me to check this box.
I don't know where you want to go with this because I do think the Udinski thing is just kind of funny to me.
Yeah, give me your 2 cents on Udinski and the fact that he's here today. We'll go to Buffalo on Sunday.
And I kind of poked around because we didn't have a show Monday, so I haven't been in all week. So I kind of poked around a little bit. And the word back within NFL people is both Udinski and Shieldhouse, they'd be fine, like they'd be good hires. Udinski seems to be the fan favorite, and that's just kind of funny to me because nobody even heard of this guy 2 weeks ago. Nobody knew anything about him, and now all of a sudden, like everyone is clamoring
one
for him.
interview or whatever.
That's the way that hire game works.
And now everybody's like, "We gotta get this guy. He's 30. He's perfect."
I'm starting to see it.
I've kind of adopted Shieldhouse as my choice based on the 2 head coaches he's worked for.
Yeah.
And he has a lot more experience leading at least a position group than Udinski is, and he's 5 years older. I mean, I think that makes a difference. But I am nervous about any young coach coming into this situation. I mean, this is a tough situation for a young coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, any NFL job is tough for a young head coach. But this job, however you feel, good or bad, about Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, they carry baggage with them. Fair or not, no matter what you think, there's baggage there. Whether in Shedeur's case, whether it's his fault or not, there's baggage. And that's something that a new coach is going to have to deal with.
I think they carry a spotlight. I think when you have those 2 individuals on your roster, those are 2 of the biggest, if you say names, right? 2 of the biggest names when you talk about quarterbacks in the storyline over the last, I think, decade. Watson because of the allegations, and Watson because of the contract. Shedeur Sanders because of celebrity, who he is, and his fan base. So both of those things are here, and both of those things is going to take a masterful person to be able to deal with. Because when it starts, I was just talking to Zach. I said, listen, man, I think Kevin, if he would have embraced it a little better, I think he could have put some distance between him and whatever it was, because I feel like if he would have just said, listen, we're not doing no competition. This about to be, they got a lot to work over. We'll figure out, but we talk about these guys. I think that the next coach has to come in with a specific plan, and he got to have his messaging together, because now when you got Deshaun Watson in the mix, I haven't even heard from Deshaun Watson in almost a year, 2 years. So the questions before where Deshaun Watson was out of sight, out of mind, you got to add that into the mix. Shedeur Sanders, obviously, if he's going to be still on this roster, there's going to be a lot of questions about that. The reps, who's this, who's that. So you got to be first of all very communicative. You got to be very precise in how you go about saying it, and you got to be able to deal with the stuff, all of the conversations that come with it, and it's yet to be seen if a 30-year-old can handle that.
It's not the X's and O's to me with this job particularly, and I was talking to somebody about this. We kind of mentioned this on the show a week or 2 ago, that like the brute tough guy coaches don't really exist. There's not many of them left. There's Vrabel, Flores, if he ever gets another opportunity.
Dan Campbell.
Campbell falls into that. But that's not where the NFL is. The NFL is very much going to the analytical side,
Nerds.
the actuaries of the world,
Yeah.
and the X's and O's, like what can you scheme, how can you marry explosive plays with consistent gain, like stuff like that. And these two guys fall into that. Jim Schwartz is not. Those two guys fall into that. And in fact, Schwartz is probably a little bit more of the old school type that we just talked about than the others. So my concern with the head coach isn't necessarily do these guys know X's and O's, because the two young guys, like they will be head coaches, if not in this cycle, they'll be head coaches probably within 3 years. I would say both of them, both Udinski and Shieldhouse. But I saw the Pettin interview you guys did. I thought Mike was great.
He was.
And Mike sort of told you without telling you about the obstacles that building in particular presents.
Yes.
That a lot of others don't. Where he said, like, Dustin asked him the question about, would you tell your best friend to take the job or not?
Right.
And I thought if you go back and you listen to that answer, I thought it was incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
But you really have to listen to what he's saying on that. And I told you for years, I thought the thing that Kevin did really well was manage the building. Like, I thought, Kevin is not going to the Hall of Fame probably as a head coach. What Kevin was really good at was managing the nonsense of Berea until it just became overwhelming. And that's what... I have no idea if these two guys, as young as they are, can handle the nonsense of Berea. And I don't think it's as bad. Pettin was there when it was at peak. It was peak stupidity in there. And I think that they've changed some things within the structure of the building since he was there, just sort of logistics and layout. Like they had
Well, Pettin said at that time, he said Jimmy listened to a lot of
Too
people.
many people.
Oh,
yeah.
that's always
people.
been the knock
A
on it.
bunch of people.
Yeah, that's all. But it was also like they would mix business side with football side.
Which is crazy.
So and I've had people work in the building say you've got, and I don't want to make this sound sexist, but there's no other way that I can say this. You would have these women in heels and short skirts walking by the players or around, and it's just there's no separation between church and state. There should be the business side and there should be the personnel side. And there was not that. And now they've renovated that building a few times. I think probably a lot of it's changed.
Yeah.
I hope. I don't know for sure. But so you have to manage. And I thought Mike was great talking about, like, you go from 90% football and 10% nonsense. When you become the head coach, it's 10% football and 90%. Where I think Mike said, like, well, I have to deal with this. Yeah, you do. You're the head coach.
Yeah.
And if I'm being totally honest, I didn't realize this maybe over it's. What I've learned over the last couple of weeks is Jim Schwartz does have a reputation is that he can be tough to work with. So, and the Browns, I think I gave them a little bit too much credit early on. We had this conversation where I said, I think we're getting hung up on the language here, and I don't know that they're really pushing Schwartz as a DC. No, I think they are. I think they really are pushing Schwartz as the guy that they want to keep as the DC with one of these young coaches. And how is that relationship going to? I have no idea. I have no idea how they can.
There's a reason Jim Schwartz hasn't been a head coach in over a decade when he's known as a good coach throughout the league.
Yeah, and if you pair him with a really young guy who's in his first job, I don't know how that's going to go. So it's not a matter of whether or not these guys can be functional play callers and head coach. Like I think it's everything else, especially in Berea. The everything else just overcomes the football side.
And again,
too often.
If Nate Shieldhouse and Grant Udinski want Schwartz to be the DC, fine, that's great.
Yeah.
But if that's being forced on them, that's bad.
Let me ask you this, Jason.
Forced is a strong word, but I know that they're really pushing.